it's 10 o'clock, you silly bitches. So it's time for another edition of ExploitNation. I am Uncle Bill, and as you can see, I am not alone tonight. I am joined by the one and only Phantasm Matt to discuss this week's voted on. People voted on this out of 5 different options, man. Like this, and I think there was well over like 200 votes. Hixsploitation is the subgenre of exploitation films that we're going to be talking about. And these films, to be honest with you, like growing up in Appalachian, Eastern Kentucky, these films were always being played. Like I know about all these films in one way or another. I'm not saying that I saw a lot of them, but they were like constantly, this and like Dukes of Hazzard and shit like that was constantly being played around me growing up. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in West Virginia, but of course I'm in northern West Virginia, upstate. So maybe not as much as people would expect, but a lot of, Deliverance is one that comes to mind. And like we didn't get a lot of that shit is not really up in this area as far as West Virginia goes. But I've seen quite a few. But all 3 of the movies tonight I had never seen prior to this. But I did watch all 3.
I mean, to be honest with you, I could totally see that though, because like number one, I saw most of these movies through my parents, and I'm significantly older than you, man. I know that, so it's like this is like these movies are one generation removed from me. You know what I mean? They were introduced to me by my parents, so, and they were all like really popular at that time period when my parents were growing. I guess in the early to mid 70s. That's where all these movies are, by the way. They all fall in that time frame.
Like within the 2 of them are same year, and then the other one is just a couple of years after. So very, very packed in kind of timeline for them.
It's crazy to me though that I do remember like seeing a couple of these movies. I especially remember Walking Tall. I mean, that movie, we'll get into it when we discuss it too. That movie was incredibly popular, not just around here. It was just like a huge movie at that time. I think, as a matter of fact, it made like $40 million box office in 1973. So it was in the top 20 like films that came out in 73 for sure. On a budget of, I believe it was like $500,000. So it was a huge hit. Which, I guess it's the most, how would you describe it? Like, it's definitely, like you said, the most serious, but it's also the most kind of, it's almost like a drama. It's got exploitation elements in it at the end, especially, but it's the most movie-esque of them, I guess, the most cinematic.
Yeah, it's the most like biopic kind. I don't know if biopic's the right word, but like it's more serious, way more drama based than the other 2 films, as far as like the other 2 are way more tongue-in-cheek exploitation, fun to watch, like, whereas the third one is not. I mean, it's a great movie, but it's not necessarily fun to watch based on the actual story being so brutal and like really like bleak. But it's an interesting collection of 3 movies because of that. Like they all do kind of fit, but Gator Bait and Big Bad Mama are so much more of a. I mean, Big Bad Mama is practically a comedy for a lot of the film.
It is, yeah.
But it, like I said, these were all 3 like first time viewings for me, and I can right off the bat say that I liked all 3 of them. Like I would recommend all 3 of them wholeheartedly.
They're completely different movies too. Like all 3 of them are like, I would say that Gator Bait and Big Bad Mama look pretty close. Like, and maybe even some degree or another, like maybe Walking Tall does, but it's got you can tell it's got a better production value to it.
Yeah.
But those 2, because Big Bad Mama was a Corman movie. So it looks the way like all those Corman movies looked at that time period. And Gator Bait, I think, was self-financed. So it looks the cheapest out of like any of them.
Yeah, for sure. It's the most grindhouse kind of looking. and in theme all in as far as the theme goes, it's more grindhouse than any of them. But yeah, and Big Bad Mama is more of a kind of, I mean, we'll talk about it. We'll talk. I don't want to get too much into it now, but it kind of almost reminded me of like a Blazing Saddles kind of a movie.
Yeah,
In a
yeah.
way.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about that. But anyway, those are the three movies, though. We're going to be talking about Walking Tall, Big Bad Mama, and Gator Bait. And Bog Zombie brings up a really good point that I was going to bring up later anyway. But wasn't Gator Bait from that Christian family that made Rocktober Blood? Yes. It's the same family that produced, and I don't know, may have written and directed Rocktober Blood, but they did Gator Bait as well, which is just absolutely bizarre to me. But that is true.
I had no idea.
But to get a head count here, there's a lot of people showing up, but we've got Prince Tomato, however you want to pronounce it. Boz is in here. Summer Isle Retreat. That's a new one.
I saw that comment about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he says something about West Virginia. Did you ever go on a tour of the Moundsville prison and the Native American Hill of Dead Bodies across the street? I have. I have done that. Yeah. So
There you
go. Yeah, they, for school, when I was back in like middle school, they actually took us on like a guided tour of the Moundsville prison. And they do have the Native American Hill across the street. It's like a giant, it just looks like a a big hill of grass and everything, but apparently it's like like kind of a grave situation over there.
Grave situation. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting pun.
Yeah. But yeah, that, and funnily enough, this is totally kind of off subject, but I don't know if you've seen Night of the Hunter or not yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that prison at the beginning of the movie, that I believe is the Moundsville Penitentiary, or at least it's set at the Moundsville Penitentiary at the beginning of Night of the Hunter. It's one of the two.
Yeah.
I always thought that was kind of ironic, and I just found that out like the last time I watched Night of the Hunter maybe a year ago. I had no idea. But I mean, yeah, shout out to Moundsville. That's absolutely
what a bizarre thing too. I wish there was some way we could actually do good movies. Like that's Night of the Hunter fits into that category. That's like a really good movie. So,
oh man, I love it.
I don't know how to you can't really do a show on that. In this series anyway.
No, you'll find a way though. Eventually,
I'm sure I probably will. Yeah. This is a great question from Splatterville too. Is Gator Bait still coming out from Terrorvision? I haven't seen it. See, there was this whole thing about that movie coming out from them, like when they very first kind of like started talking about, this new line of titles and all this, and I haven't heard a thing about it.
I didn't know that at all.
Yeah. It had been discussed along with like when they started talking about what was the other one. Was it Rocktober Blood too? That makes sense if it was, because that's the same family that owns those two movies, or would, I guess, have owned those two movies. But I think it was Rocktober Blood they were thinking about putting out as well.
I don't know. I don't own anything from Terrorvision, so I'm not sure.
That's probably for the best.
Yeah.
Dirk is in here. Kentucky Cunctator's in here. He says Walking Tall is a legit good movie. Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. The mayor's in here giving me shit. MTH, bruh, Jackson Jack, Alpha Romero. I think he's making reference to the fact that Terrorvision might be putting it out at some point. And Terrorvision has apparently he's got shit in Walmart. By the way, like I made fun of that like crazy, but they legitimately have shit in Walmart. Like that has blown my mind, man.
They do?
Yes, there's that Malum title or whatever. There's people taking pictures of it. Now they may have here's my thoughts. Somebody may have just gone in there and put like a copy of Malum in a Walmart holder or something. And that's more than likely what happened. But if not, then they've legitimately got titles in Walmart.
I would shit my pants if I saw Gator Bait in Walmart, and
I would too.
Then I would buy it in that order. So I don't know. If they come out with Gator Bait, I'd buy it 100%.
Big Bad Mama 2 did play on that a lot, yeah.
Okay.
Dawn of the Dead's being released in theaters again. Are you going to go see it? Probably, yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I'll probably do that.
We have a one screen theater in my town. and they posted on Facebook about possibly doing an anniversary screening of it, which is crazy because like where I live, I don't know what kind of turnout they would have for that. I mean, I'm like almost an hour from Moundsville, or fucking Moundsville's on my brain.
You got Moundsville in the
Yeah,
brain
yeah. Fucking Monroeville.
I was gonna say,
Yeah. So, but I would love to see Dawn in the theater if they do it, especially at my local theater. That'd be killer.
yeah, that would be amazing. I mean, I would go to that in a heartbeat. So let's go ahead and get started, I guess. If we're going chronologically, then the first film that we need to talk about would be Walking Tall, which came out in 1973.
Shit.
Which is kind of wild if you think about it. Like, it came out that long ago. It doesn't, I mean, it definitely looks like a 70s movie, but it doesn't look that dated really now.
No.
So as we get into this movie, as we get into Walking Tall, most people probably at least know about this story because they remade it in, I think it was 2004, 2005 with The Rock. And it was very loosely.
Wait a minute. That's the one I watched. Is that not the one?
No. I pray to God you didn't watch that one.
I'm just kidding.
I was like, that would be awful. That would be bad for you and for the show. Like, I would feel bad for you, like having to watch.
Yeah, God.
But that's the one everybody knows now. Like, is that version. And it did really well at the box office, that version. But actually, 40 years before that, this movie came out and did really well in the box office, especially considering that time period. Like I said, on a budget of $500,000, it made $40 million and became like one of the highest grossing movies of that year. And that's Walking Tall 1973, which is it's an adaptation of the real life story of the sheriff of a small Tennessee town. His name was Buford Pusser, and his life story is actually crazier than that fucking movie. If you can, because I was watching the movie and I was thinking, like, it's been a long time since I'd seen it. I think Wes and I watched it last time when they came out with like a box set of those movies. Somebody did. And I was watching it and I was like, there's no way. They had to like make up a lot of this stuff just to make the movie more kind of interesting. There's no way this stuff is like real. And then I went and looked up his bio, and it's like, if anything, they toned down the movie because they were probably like, nobody's going to believe this shit actually happened to this guy.
Yeah, like I said, that's one thing I didn't get to look into his. I should have done the research. I didn't have time, but like on his real life story, and I thought the same thing. I was kind of like, okay, well, I doubt that it was that like violent and like crazy, because the movie really is, especially in the second half. But if that's the case, that his real life was, even if they toned it down, that's really saying something. Because some of the shit in this movie really, like, we'll talk about it, but it was really insane. Like, brutal is one of the ways to put it.
Yeah, it's
straight up exploitation type stuff.
It's wild because, like, you were texting me the other day and you were like, the first half of the movie is slow to get started. And it is, because the first half of the movie is basically just like the setup. He's guys returning home to his hometown, like, and he's going to start like a new life with his family there. I think he was a wrestler at one point in time. He mentions being a wrestler, and then he was in the Marines for a short period of time. And he's coming back, and his parents tell him, like, the town has changed, since you've been back. So kind of, don't pay attention to anything. He ends up going out with a friend to like a bar. And you remember the name of the bar, Matt? I was trying to remember.
Was it the Lucky Spot or something?
The Lucky Spot. I think that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, there's gambling and whores and, moonshine and all that stuff. And he's like, oh my God, like, he can't believe that all this has happened to his town. Then he catches a guy cheating at the craps table. And he's like, give me back my money or whatever. And that's really what starts the movie. So like, they beat the shit out of him. and like,
He's
you know,
exposing
yeah.
them cheating at their own game at the this little craps bar. Yeah, and that's really like the whole setup for the movie, because it becomes him exposing the all the wrongdoings and of the politics of this town.
Now, what's wild about this is real. Like this, he really did this. Like in the actual Buford Buster. So, it was, I believe, called the State Line Mafia, which there's the state line between Tennessee and Mississippi, where a lot of this stuff took place, and exactly what goes on in this, like moonshine stills, illegal gambling, prostitution. That was his kind of like the real Buford Buster's kind of like crusade was to try to stop all these things. And in the movie, that's so not to get too far ahead. You already know he's a sheriff by the fact that we're talking about that anyway. But like when he comes in, he's just a regular guy. He just wants to start a new life. And like there's a really corrupt like sheriff and a judge, and like most of anybody running the town is corrupt. And even the deputy is corrupt. Like the sheriff's deputy is corrupt. And so, like anytime he tries to get anything done, he can't get anything done because like they're all in on it together. And the sheriff is out to like really get him after he starts a fight with everybody in the bar and everything. So finally he's like, you know what? Like I can't get anything done. So the only thing I can do is run for sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he does.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you could really look at it in like two different ways. I mean, that was a good idea and a bad idea. It's like,
yeah, because there's some people in the town though that are kind of on his side though. That's kind of the thing. Like there are people that want him to come in and clean house and get this shit taken care of and get the politics out and the wrongdoings of the politics in the area. And then but most of the people are like, we gotta stop this guy from coming in and screwing up our way of doing things.
That's the really weird part about it, is the majority of people in this town are just like, because he's like, apple pie and everything, America and all that stuff, honesty, morals, and all this. And like everybody in that town's like, we've got to kill this motherfucker. That's immediately what they want to do. And so it's pretty true to life, I guess, really. Like if that were to happen, somebody came along like that.
So isn't one of the things that gets him elected is the fact that when he gets in that bar fight at the beginning, when he exposes the cheating at the gambling at the bar, this one guy comes up, they beat the shit out of him, like almost to death, basically. And then they come up and rip his shirt off and just cut, like the guy gets like a knife or a razor blade and just starts cutting William, is his name William or whatever, just cutting his chest up and like leaving him. And then they take him away and leave him on the side of the road for dead. And he comes in, there was like a court hearing or something like that.
This is a great scene, by the way.
Yeah. And he comes in and basically like pulls off his shirt to show everyone in the room, like, this is what they did to me. And if you're going to continue to allow this happening in your town, there's nothing that says that they can't do the same thing to you. And so that kind of pushes it forward that somehow he gets elected, as sheriff.
I think the court hearing is he actually keeps getting like arrested for like shit that they were doing.
Okay. Yeah.
Against him. So the sheriff because the sheriff is completely corrupt and hates him. He keeps hauling him in for stuff like just petty stuff like car related stuff. And then the fight itself, like he gets hauled in there for as well, I believe. But like they want to charge him with, I think it's like they want to try to give him 30 years or something like that.
That's right.
When he goes back to the bar and beats the shit out of him with a club. Which I guess he works in a sawmill in the movie, and he's got this giant like club that he uses.
It's a big piece of wood.
It literally is the most like non-threatening looking thing. It looks like a bedpost that has not been like sanded yet. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, kind of an odd thing. Yeah,
he's just like walking around with it. So they want to, he goes in there, beats shit out of everybody to get revenge for that. And then like they want to put him away for 30 years. And he's like, I want a jury trial. Because he knows like the townspeople will actually like are fed up with the shit too. So he does all that. He gets the jury trial. He gets off. And then that's when he decides to run for sheriff after that.
That's right. Okay. I had a little bit mixed up. Yeah.
But then he wins. and then it's like from that point, you would think in a typical Hollywood movie, it would from that point he would just like keep winning, and he would just kind of like
like a Death Wish kind of thing, like
yeah, he would just like dismantle all of the places and everything. But for some reason this movie it's much more realistic. Like they keep like hiring people to kill him. He keeps getting shot, and like his family gets threatened, and like it never really goes like the way that he thinks it's going to go up until like maybe the very end. And even in the
then
very end, it's
questionable.
But that's kind of one of the things that I think I like about the movie is that it's not all like, Rocky style, like he wins everything like straight through.
It's like I was saying to you earlier, like the one main thing, if I could say there's a negative about the movie, is it's a bit long. So it's like 2 hours, which I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I kind of feel like it's a movie that almost needed. I don't know if needed is the right word, but like it makes sense that it's that long in some way. Like it is long, but I had trouble with the first half of the movie because it is a slow build up of him kind of getting into the position of being sheriff and all that. And that part I found slow. But once the second half peaks and you get into the later end of the movie, and especially the final quarter of the movie, the violence just goes into full gear.
It does.
And like the just bleakness of like these people are out to get him and his family and anyone that's in his vicinity. And it is just like, it turns into such a crazy exploitation, black-hearted, violent bloodbath at certain point. There's not necessarily bloodbath, but I don't know how much you want to give away of some of the scenes in the movie that happen, but I mean, there's people getting killed, shot in the head. I mean, the second half of the movie really like saved it for me, because for a while I was kind of like, this is like really slow. But like I said, once you get into the second half, it turns into like it just kicks into high gear so fast. So that's one thing I noticed about it.
Literally, like, yeah, kicks into high gear. Like, I mean, there's car chases, there's, action sequences, there's stunts, there's like you said, shootouts, like all the time. And, one of the things, another part of it that was true to life too, is that this state line mafia keeps hiring all these people to kill him. So there's a scene where like, he's driving and this woman pulls up in front of him and starts like brake checking him to get him to pull over. And when he walks up to the side of the car, he gets shot. And that actually happened. I was like reading that is an actual fucking like thing that happened to him. And
how do you live through shit like that? I mean, it's
a
miracle almost.
Here's the thing about the actual guy, right? He's 6'6". He was 6'6" and weighed 315 pounds in real life. That was like what his police. So he was a huge guy.
Yeah.
And I feel like that helped him through a lot of this. But, according to like stuff that I've looked at from his biography in real life, like he survived while he was sheriff 7 stabbing attempts and 8 assassination attempts by like gunfire. Like, so
God.
And the thing that well, we'll get into that later, but in the movie he gets shot and he's left on the side of the road to die, and he survived. And he survived. He keeps surviving throughout this entire movie, which was real. I couldn't believe that was all real, but it is.
Yeah.
So, and he survives. He comes back from the hospital after being shot, and then he's really pissed, and he like wants to take all of them down. So he forms like this group of the deputies to kind of hit them all at one time. But of course, there's a rat that's being paid off in the mix of these cops, and like he tries to take them all down, but they all know it's coming, so they kind of get rid of everything and all the evidence and things like that.
Yeah.
And then eventually they try to assassinate him again, and then his wife, I'll just go ahead and say this. I mean, for anybody that hasn't seen you can if you look up his life or this movie, you'll find this out anyway. So his wife gets killed in the process of him trying to be assassinated, but he fucking lives, which was also true. They killed his wife in real life in an assassination attempt with I think it was like a 30 caliber carbine, which is just like an automatic machine gun. Basically, he got shot in the face for real. By the way, he got shot in the face and like the chest, and in the movie and in real life, and he lived, and his wife died. And that's why I said it's, you could say it's a good thing he was sheriff, but I mean, it kind of cost his wife.
The scene in the movie where his wife gets killed when they're driving in the car is insane. Like it's very brutal. Like they're just driving along, and like of course it's like they're all happy. They're like, give me a kiss, and like kissing and stuff. And he's driving, and then they just come up in another car and blow her away through the back window of the car. And it's like very matter of fact the way they do it in the movie, and him just like pulling over and like holding her body and shit. You're just like, what in the? It's insane.
Especially considering like throughout the entire movie, she was like, trying to like talk him out all this stuff, and was like, we could just move and get away from here. And he's like, no, I mean, we've got to do the right thing. And like, yeah. And then she's the one that ends up getting killed. And it's so messed up. And then he comes back looking like, I don't know, like fucking Hannibal Lecter with some sort of cast thing on his face. Like,
that's like some of the best stuff in the movie is because he gets shot, and so he has like that face cast, and he can't even really talk. Like there's like a mouth cut out. It looks like a cast that you'd have on your arm, except it's around the lower half of his face, like you said, like a Hannibal Lecter kind of thing. He can't speak, but he can you can hear him kind of mouthing words and stuff. And the other cops on the force are asking him like, do you know who did this to you? And he's like, yeah, I know who did it. And that kind of really goes into the end of the movie right there is him getting his revenge, avenging his wife's death. And before that, though, when he's in the face mask and like they go to his wife's funeral, that was another
that was
not fun to watch. Like
it goes on for a while. Like they've got the kids there.
Kid grabbing the pile of dirt and throwing it on the mom's casket, and you're just like, Jesus Christ! Like it is really messed up. And just to think that like the way they portrayed it in the film is like really brutal, but just the fact that it like happened in real life, insane. But I do like the kind of look of him with that mask on, and like the one point where he has like blood coming out of the mouthpiece of it and everything.
And so I guess like ultimately, once you get to the end of the movie, I guess the point of the movie is that the town kind of really turns on and are not afraid of the mafia anymore. That's the impression that I get from by the end of the movie, like when they're burning all the shit out in the,
in the parking lot,
the parking lot and everything. So in a way, like, I guess he wins, but I mean, that dude suffered
at what cost?
Yeah. That dude. And then, okay. So now that we're close to, or we are at the end of the movie and everything, there's some other stuff that happens too. There's a great scene where he busts like he's got an informant himself. That's one of the prostitutes, and he's busting all these places. And this one woman who's a great character. I don't know what her name is in the film. I can't remember. But she's a great character, and she's like kind of like the leader really of the gang that's after him. And she's kind of sitting waiting for him to come in this door with like a double barrel shotgun.
She's sitting at the bar, and she has like her jacket over top of the double barrel shotgun, just kind of sitting there waiting for him to walk through the door at the other end of the bar. A great scene there. Yeah. And when I don't know how much I mean, he blows her away, you know,
It's
but it's like
very
so good though. It's
it's
like,
so satisfying though, because like she's done everything to like fuck him over throughout the whole film.
yeah,
It
yeah,
really is a satisfying movie. And I had always heard growing up that he had been shot and assassinated and actually killed by this group, right? In real life. That's not true though. And like I was looking up, he actually died in a car accident. But there are a lot of people that believe that like the reason why he died in the car accident was because somebody was hired to fuck with his brakes and like that's actually what ended up killing him. So who knows? I mean, he did survive like I don't know how many assassination attempts, so it's not out of the realm of
yeah.
possibility that that happened to him.
No, like, so there was like 2 sequels to this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so I hadn't obviously this was a first time watch for me. I have not seen any of the sequels either. Um, so I really don't have anything to say about the sequels, but like I can say that this movie though it is long and the first half is a little bit slow, but overall it's a fantastic dramatic piece of like a film. Like it's really
It's just
enjoyable.
it's the type of movie they don't make anymore because
No.
it's very like all American like
Yeah, kind of that
guy takes on
almost like a deer hunter kind of vibe to it a little bit. Like you know, it's long form. It takes its time. It's very matter of fact. Like and that like I think the first half being a little bit slow could turn some people off, but I swear to God, just stick it through until the second half to especially the final quarter, and it pays off so much.
yeah. I was Somebody brought up the sequel. There was Russell says there's two sequels with Bo Svensson, and there's actually a series, like a short series, with him in it too. I never liked him as Buford. Joe Don Baker is amazing in this movie, by the way. Like is 100% by far like steals the show to me, like of any of the cast or anything like that. I think he's great. I just didn't like Bo Svensson as him. Uh, and I watched the second one at least. I'm not positive if I ever watched the other ones.
Hmm.
But the second one I was underwhelmed. But I swear they put out a box set of these movies though. Somebody can check it to see on DVD if they didn't have it one time or another a box set of these like the movies. But I'm pretty sure I watched at least the second one and not the third one. But it's a great movie. It is
Hmm.
just overall like still to me like holds up to be a great movie. Like even when I watch it now, I'm like it's still good. Like it's dated in terms of the looks and everything, of course, because it's made in the early 70s, but it and it just works. And I think it's really because of the acting and it's really good too.
It's one of those like quintessential 70s movies for sure. So if you're into 70s cinema and 70s like early 70s movies like that, they all have a real similar kind of vibe to them. Not necessarily in the story obviously, but just that feeling of that the early 70s types of movies. Um, it fits perfectly into that kind of a into that category, and like just the dramatic aspects of it and everything really
Yeah.
worked well for that time period. And like the 70s, I've said it before, the 70s is my favorite decade of films, I think. I mean, I love the 80s and all that. There's a lot of great movies that came out, but the 70s for me is like the peak of like gritty, raw, um, just everything that you couldn't get in a film today is
No.
all there in the 70s films.
And I think it's the only time period where you could make a movie like this and it could make $40 million on that kind of budget and just be a huge hit mainstream.
Mhm.
I just don't think that ever happens.
Yeah, and I don't think
There
we'll
would
ever I don't think I will ever see another decade, or any of us will ever see a decade of films like the 70s in my lifetime ever. I mean, I just don't it just doesn't seem like it'll ever happen again with the types of movies that came out in the 70s, and how, like somebody said in the comments, they took more chances. There was less of a I mean, just the way that like society is today, the way that Hollywood is today, you cannot get away with it, with putting those things on film and showing them to the public anymore. It just won't ever happen again. It doesn't seem like. And if it
No.
does, it has to be super theatrical and like obviously like fake, kind of like there's no heart. Like these movies have like a lot of like rawness and like heart to them, whereas nowadays it's more of a production. And this type of movie doesn't feel like any kind of a production. It just feels like a very real story telling kind of way of making a movie, which we don't get a lot of that. I mean, we do. I'm not going to be the person that says all movies today suck, but because they don't. I mean, but
No, but you're right though. Mainstream wise, like the stuff that makes it into theaters, kind of worldwide, is not good. It's just not. It's very generic, and it's very kind of,
it's far. Yeah, it's just far less. Like it's almost like diamonds in the rough nowadays. You have to find the diamonds in the rough. Whereas I feel like back in the 70s, it's just so many hits, hit after hit after hit, and cult following movies that have cult followings today. Whereas I don't see a lot of movies today having that kind of effect on people 30 years down the road.
no.
I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong, but
I don't think so. I don't think that like people be like Ant-Man really affected me.
changed my life.
Yeah. But okay, there's a ton of comments about this movie though. How
Mm.
many sequels? Well, here's the thing. There were 3 sequels. I'm sorry. There's 3 movies that would be 2 sequels, and then that series that I can remember. But I was looking on here, and then there's like another one with like Walking Tall with Kevin Sorbo. I don't know if that's the same
I
kind
don't
of
know.
thing. And then there was, if you add in the remake, there would be quite a few. So I'm
I
not
never
entirely
did
sure.
see the remake, so I can't comment. I don't know. Like, have you seen it?
I may have tried to watch it when I can't remember any Rock's movies. Any damn thing he's ever done, I can't remember anything about it. Like I know I watched some of those movies, but I couldn't tell you anything that happened in them.
I can't even imagine it being depicting anything even close to what the effect,
No,
like how strong the original is.
there's no way. Suspiria Night says Buster ruins the town's fun. That's the story in a nutshell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. 17 when I would first watch Walking Tall, Gator Bait, and 18 for Big Bad Mama. Well, that's killer, Russell. You actually saw him at the time, yeah? The mayor says, I wonder if that one wrestler got his gimmick carrying a board of wood. Oh, Hacksaw Jim Duggan? Maybe. I never thought about it. It's possible.
Literally just a giant piece of wood. Yeah. Like that's all it is.
No balls, that remake, says Kentucky. Yeah.
How could it? I mean, it's The Rock.
This is another thing I noticed too. Leif Garrett is in this movie as one of the kids. And I was like, I knew immediately when I saw him that that's who that was, because he still basically looks like he does when he was, later on in the teen heartthrob or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He just plays one of the kids. I don't think he's in it very much, though.
Yeah.
Let's see. What about, ask about what about the 2 sequels?
Yeah, haven't seen them.
Here we go. Bog Zombie says Shout has the trilogy DVD set. I thought somebody had that. Yeah. So
okay, yeah, I was getting it confused because I know that Shout also did the Billy Jack, series of movies, franchise, whatever you want to call it, on Blu-ray.
I feel like I got those around the same time too, like on DVD.
Yeah.
I feel like that those may have came out around the same time.
Yeah, Billy Jack's another one. Like,
I'm not sure how you like. Wes and I were talking about this because he wants to do Billy Jack. Like that's a favorite of his too. So we were thinking like When Hippies Attack, like kind of a series of exploitation films about that. And you could do like, you could do Billy Jack, which is a completely different film than like, let's say like, what's the one where they take acid, then go crazy and kill everybody? It's I Drink Your Blood.
Yeah, well, I guess it's one of those. It's not, because I don't remember either of those really. Or is it? I Drink Your Blood is the one where the kid injects all the meat, the pies with the Is it I don't know. Is it like a psychedelic drug, or is it some kind of uh, infection? I don't know, because I don't remember very much about that movie. He injects the pies with
with like, yeah,
syringe of something. I don't remember what's
then
in
it
it.
causes all the hippies to go crazy and like kill
Yeah,
everybody. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's what we're looking for is hippie when hippies attack movies.
Rabies. Yeah, that's it.
Rabies.
Rabies.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, classic trailer for that movie. That's a great movie trailer for "I Drink Your Blood and I Eat Your Skin." Yeah,
Yeah.
an entire town infested with rabies. Yeah,
That is terrifying because there's no cure for
yeah,
it. Well, if once you get rabies, like you're screwed. That's a whole
yeah,
other sub story. Still this day, really.
yeah,
Um. Okay. So if you haven't seen Walking Tall, the original, not the shitty rock one, then definitely watch that one.
yeah. It's
Uh.
really great. I don't know, like, okay, so I don't, as far as streaming it real quick goes, I had to like find it on like a random like website to stream it on, like a pirated website, because I
Yeah.
couldn't. Oh wait, I think it's on like Pluto or something
It
like
is
that.
on one of those free ones, but I can't remember which one either because I actually
Yeah.
watched it on a completely legal
Oh,
site.
did you? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I went the pirate route because it's already a long movie, and I figured that the ads would add like hell, like for what, another
Yeah.
30,
Another
40
30
minutes.
minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's great. I highly recommend it if you're into 70s movies for sure.
So that one is a definite high recommendation. And also just check out his life too. There's been several books written about the guy. And if you just do like a quick search, you can find all kinds of information about the actual guy, the Buford Pusser
Yeah.
guy. Um, so up next, both these movies came out in the same year, which was 1974. What a year 1974 was, by the way. Um, because like Texas Chainsaw Massacre comes out, uh, all these movies from Corman are coming out,
Hmm.
and you know, I guess we could probably do we probably do Gator Bait next, I guess, because Big Bad Mama really like needs to be the ending of this show because
Sure.
it's outstanding.
Sure.
Um, so Gator Bait
Hmm.
it's an interesting movie. So when did I Spit on Your Grave come out? 76?
That was 78.
78? Okay, so this movie came out 4 years prior to
It's crazy.
I Spit on Your Grave. So if anything, I Spit on Your Grave is like Gator Bait.
Listen, here's what I said. I said when I watched Gator Bait, I put a review on Letterboxd. By the way, quick plug: I have a Letterboxd. You can follow me on there, like I'm some kind of celebrity or something like that. But I'm a big fan of Letterboxd, and I think DeadPit needs to get on Letterboxd because you can log every movie that you've ever seen and what you want to
God.
see, and I feel like you guys would get a good following on there. But when I put my review on Letterboxd for Gator Bait was I said, like, is this I Spit on Your Gator or Last House on the Bayou? Like, because it literally is a mixture of like a Last House on the Left, I Spit on Your Grave, kind of like, I wasn't expecting it to be that much of like a revenge kind of uh exploitation kind of movie because when it first starts, it's like very comedic almost, but it turns into something different later. I feel like I hope UB's internet isn't screwing up right now. Lord Almighty, please. I think I'm gonna have to hold the fort while UB gets back because I feel like it's frozen right now on his end. Oh
Oh
wait, you
shit.
there?
I'm back.
You
I
there?
told
Okay.
you, man, this internet's fucking with me now. I don't know why. I may
Okay.
have to end up resetting this thing before it's over with, so don't be surprised like if that has to happen. But
Okay. Yeah.
Gator Bait. You were
Yeah.
talking about it. I heard like you talking about like it's kind of a mixture of Last House on the Left and
Yeah.
I Spit on Your Grave. Um it's such a weird movie, really. Like, so it's basically just the story of this lone Cajun woman that goes out and she's hunting alligators and snakes for her family to live off of. And then one day, this like cop, the sheriff's deputy, like wants to fuck with her. I mean, literally and figuratively wants to fuck with her, and ends up accidentally shooting this guy. And he goes back and tells his dad that she shot him to
Yep.
save his ass. But and that's what gets it everything started from. That's kind of the catalyst of this movie too, because after that, the sheriff is after this girl, and the guy's family is after this girl,
Because they all
who
think that
got
she
killed.
killed the other
Yeah,
guy, and she
and
didn't.
she's. By the way, man, just a side note to this movie, that is one of the worst accents. Whatever the hell she was doing with that accent.
I was like, where did that even come from? Because like she's talking like nobody else in the film talks like that except
Yeah,
her.
and it's like shit, like Yoda speak almost. She's like, "They no come," or they, you know what I mean?
Like
They
she's
no come
talking
no
like
more.
caveman.
Yeah,
Like what the hell? Where'd she get that accent from?
it's real bad. And luckily, she only has like 3 or 4 lines of dialogue. I think they kind of figured out that was a good idea to just not give her any more dialogue.
Yeah. So
Um, yeah, go
what
ahead. Sorry.
what is her name? Desiree, right?
In the movie, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's one thing I wanted to mention was that the soundtrack to this movie is a lot of like banjo, kind of like, on the bayou kind of like music. But that song Desiree in the movie, and I
Mhm.
don't know if it was written for the movie or not, but that's like a really good song. I thought I really enjoyed the song in the movie. I think it's called Desiree. Um, I thought it was good. I honestly liked it.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I actually didn't mind the crazy like banjo and fucking
Mhm.
because it fit with the movie really. Um
Yeah.
Trying to figure out like where to go with the narrative of this movie. So essentially they just try to find her house and kill her. And then they end up killing like her basically her whole family except for like one person. And like that pisses her off even more. So then she's on like kind of like a revenge spree against them. And here's the weird thing about this movie. She's supposed to be like the queen of the swamp, but all she ever does is show up about 20 feet away, like, and you can clearly see her, and she's just like, you know, shooting bows and arrows and shit at him and like trying to kill him. And like, that's all she does. That's her big like move. She
Yeah.
doesn't, it's not like Predator where she puts herself in mud and like leans up against something or anything. She's just like kind of there off to the
No.
side.
She really has when you really think about it, she has kind of a minimal part in the movie. Like
Yeah.
she's there at the beginning because obviously the two guys are out on the speedboat trying to mess with her. One of the guys accidentally gets killed by the second guy. She doesn't even know that that guy is dead. She's gone by the because she throws like a couple snakes into their boat, and the one guy's freaking out, shooting at the snakes. The other guy jumps out of the boat, and the dude who's shooting at the snakes accidentally shoots his partner in the head,
Yeah.
and he falls into the swamp. She's gone by that point, so she has no idea that even happened. So she doesn't have any clue that they're going to be after her or whatever. Guy goes back to town, says, "Hey, she shot the guy." And one thing I wanted to mention, I don't know if you picked up on that line of dialogue in the movie where the one dude goes back to town to tell, I'm assuming it's like the sheriff or whatever, or one of the other police officers or whatever in town, like, hey, she killed the guy. He doesn't even really seem that concerned that the other guy's dead. But when the dude says, "Oh, also we sunk the boat too," and
Oh
then
yeah.
then the sheriff goes, "You sunk my boat!" Like
He's like, that
like
cost me
totally, yeah,
$3,000. Something
he's
like
like
that. Yeah.
he's going crazy, but because they ruined the boat. But like the other guy's dead, and he's just like, "Oh, that bitch."
That's literally what he's like. He's like, oh shit, now we're gonna have to
Oh,
deal with
son
that
of a
family.
bitch.
Yeah.
But then he's like all crazy, going nuts that they ruined the boat. Like he doesn't even care, dude. A person is dead, but you're worried about your boat being sunk. Picked
It
up on
really
that.
is the oddest way to start a movie, I think. Like the way that they kind of started off this is in terms of like a but once once the deputy tells the sheriff and everything, and like they go out and tell the guy's family, then the family puts together like a posse of like two really skeezy brothers and this like father who's probably the best actor in the movie, really.
Mhm.
And they go out and they try to kill her. So, and then it's just basically her picking them off like one by one in
Mhm.
different ways until um well, and in between that, like the brothers, I've never seen a movie where like two brothers are played so fucking just like horny and shit all the time. That's like they're in the middle of people getting killed around them and they're still trying to hump anything that moves like in their general direction. Like,
They are, yeah. Like it's kind of like that's where kind of like the Last House on the Left vibe I got from it was because they're like they come in, they find the hut or whatever you want to call it that her and her family are kind of living in on the bayou. She's not there because she went out to try and poach some more gators or whatever somewhere else. And they come upon the hut that her family's living in, which it's like a young boy who apparently has no tongue. They say
which
that
I
he
was
doesn't have a
thinking about that
tongue.
too. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, like he must have had
Uh,
an I don't know. Did he get it cut out somehow or birth
it's
defect?
very,
They never explain it.
yeah.
But so the posse comes upon their hut, and there's like a young girl there, and they
That's
like
her
assault.
sister, right?
I think so.
Think.
Yeah. So they assault her. Like you said, the one guy's like so horny the entire time, like that. He like gets her alone while they're trying to like get out of them the information as to where did I fucking forgot her name already. The main girl. They're like, where
Oh,
did she go?
Desiree.
Desiree,
Yeah.
where is your sister? Where's your sister at? But meanwhile, they're like, well, while we're trying to figure that out, let's assault her.
Yeah.
So they do that, and of course that turns into a catastrophe because she ends up getting killed. She ends up getting shot by one of the men.
And then the sheriff is kind of like, I don't want any part of this because, like, of this kind of thing, because I knew, somebody was going to get hurt, and then it's going to make her even more pissed off. And then people are going to find out
Mm-hmm.
about it, and they were trying to like get around all this stuff, and they can't get around it now. So like
Someone's dead. Yeah.
so then they get into this conversation that plays into the end of this movie, and I think I know like the question because you were talking about questions about the end of this movie, and I think I know like
what I'm gonna.
because
Yeah.
you and I probably have the same question.
Mm-hmm.
They get the father of the guy that gets killed and the sheriff get into this big conversation about like how at one point in time or another her mother was married to somebody else, and then the sheriff was having an affair with her. And what was it, Matt? Like, did the sheriff kill her? Like, or the guy? I can't remember like how it went. Like,
What part are you talking about in the movie?
where he actually okay. So the sheriff's having an affair with the mother, and then the guy finds out. The husband finds out that they're having an affair. And I can't remember, did he use the woman as gator bait or did he use the guy as gator bait, like the husband? I guess it was the woman, wasn't it? And
It
I
must
can't
have been.
remember.
I'm having trouble remembering that part as well.
The point of that being was
Yeah.
is that the father was basically trying to say that the sheriff was like he didn't have any morals or anything anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
like he's going around trying to act like that this shouldn't be happening, but like he killed somebody before and covered it up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they were kind of alluding to, which that will play into the end of the movie as well, that whole
Mm-hmm.
conversation.
Yeah. So this one is like way more of a exploitation movie based on what I said earlier about like how it's like a I spit on your grave, Last House on the Left kind of thing. But it's mainly the whole movie is mainly this posse looking for this woman and wreaking havoc in their in their path the entire way to try to get to her by like killing her sister and assaulting her sister. But the kid with the tongue cut out, he gets away. They basically let him go. And he of course runs off and finds Desiree, and it's kind of Desiree and this kid, I can't remember the kid's name. It's kind of them two that kind of get revenge back on the posse of guys that are after her. Because the one kid is like a mute. He doesn't talk, obviously, the entire time. But I mean, that's really the bulk of the movie as far as like it's all them out on the bayou the entire time until you get to the ending where they're all kind of getting picked off. And my question with the movie kind of comes up at the end, and I don't know if it's necessarily like spoiler territory or not.
I don't think so. Not in the movie,
I mean,
because it really has nothing.
Reveal or
it's
anything.
not like Darth Vader or anything.
Yeah,
just,
yeah,
it's nothing to do with the plot of the movie whatsoever. Like, really.
Yeah, I mean, so you get down to the last guy, the bearded guy, which was the brother of the man that was killed at the beginning, which he ends up finding out before they even get to Desiree. The one sheriff ends up confessing to him, like, hey, the other officer told me she actually didn't kill your brother. He killed your brother and it was an accident. And so he kind of ends up, which to my surprise, he kind of ends up, the guy's brother ends up getting kind of pissed. He's like, well, why didn't you tell me that way earlier? And we could have like, this all could have been avoided. Like, we're doing all this shit. And this woman didn't even kill my brother. I think it's the guy's brother that was killed.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever. And, he's just kind of like, we got into this whole mess.
Or is it his son? I don't know. I can't remember what family member it is. No, it is his son. Because he's talking about like something about like, he was my first or something like that.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, he goes honestly, on some tangent.
It just kind of blended in, honestly, because it's not that important. but
it really has no bearing on the movie, right?
Yeah. So, he's like, obviously we could have avoided. We killed this girl. We raped and killed this girl. We did all this stuff, and like all for nothing. Like, because like this other guy killed the dude and she didn't, but it's already too late at that point.
Yeah, they've already like they're knee deep in the shit at that point. They've got to like finish or try to finish it off, like, because they've already done whatever they've done. And
so they finally, the dude, the main guy, ends up finally coming face to face with Desiree at the end of the movie. And then there's this whole dialogue with how she's going to kill him, but he kind of goes into this dialogue, and it just kind of comes out of nowhere, really, with this reveal at the end. And that's what the question I had was like, so it comes out of nowhere, and he's saying all this stuff to her, and she's like got this gun and is going to shoot him, and I can't even remember exactly what he says or how it comes about, but long of the short of it is, that guy is her real father. So, and she doesn't even seem fazed by it at all. It's like she doesn't even react really to it. He's like, I'm your actual father. And he has this whole explanation for it. But she's just kind of like, and then turns around and get like,
well, she says, the only thing she says is, my father's dead.
My father's dead. And at that point, I was expecting her to just shoot him and like, kill him. Hey, well, my father is dead. It doesn't even matter. And kill him. I thought that would have been a little bit of a more satisfying end to the movie. But fucking hell, she just turns tail and just gets on a boat and floats away. And he's just kind of standing there like alone, like looking up. And I just had so many questions about the end of that. Like, why did it end that way? She just lets him live and just takes that kid that can't talk, and they just get on a boat and drive away. I don't know why it didn't really sit well, the ending. It was a strange ending. to me.
Here was my question. Maybe I was thinking too much into this movie, but I thought in my mind when she said that, when she's like, "My father's already dead," I was thinking, is she saying that the sheriff is her father, and like they already killed him, or is she just saying like, "You're my dad and you're dead to
You're
me,"
dead to me.
like
Yeah.
that kind of thing?
I feel
Because
like
I was
that's
like,
it.
yeah, because the sheriff was having an affair with her mother, which led me to that line of thinking. But I don't. I guess maybe that's a little bit too much like credit to the that anybody would like be thinking
To
in
the
that.
writing. Yeah.
Yeah, in
See,
that
I
line.
part of me, I wanted to see if anybody else had ever done any like video reviews of this or not, and I haven't looked it up yet, but I'd be
I'm
interested to
sure
see.
somebody had. I know. Yeah, I know. Joe Bob did the whole thing about one of
Okay.
those shows.
Yeah, I wanted to look on YouTube and see if anybody else had talked about this movie or not, because I had the ending just kind of, I was confused as to why it happened that way, and like the implications, and like cuz he's just kind of standing there like looking around like, "Huh." And then she just drives away on the boat, and you're just like, "What the hell? What the hell's going on here?"
She say something like I you know how she talks in the movie. She's like, "Live, I let you," or some shit like that. Like
It's not that caveman-ish,
it's like
but
worse for you or something, like some stupid Cajun nonsense that she's trying to like say.
um
But basically making the point that it's worse for him to have to live and be like, all
live
these
with
people that
everything.
yeah.
Yeah. At, at, at the end of the day, though, the movie is like very enjoyable. It's like much more tongue in cheek, kind of exploitation-y. Like, well, not as tongue in cheek as the next one we're going to talk
Yeah,
about,
that's true.
but this one. So like you have Walking Tall, which is like a dead serious like drama film with exploitation elements. This one was kind of right in the middle. Like it's got a more grindhouse vibe to it.
Very, very much. Yeah.
Um, but it kind of balances it well with like the humor. I think like it's humorous to me, like the way that some of the guys are talking and some of the dialogue, and like it's just that 70s grindhouse dialogue that you could never get away with, like talking like that today on a film or in real life for that matter. Um, like regarding her and like the way they're talking to each other and stuff, but it's enjoyable. It's fun to watch.
Yeah. I
I
liked it. I can see why other people wouldn't like it because it's very cheaply made. The acting
yeah,
is pretty much atrocious.
yeah.
There's very little dialogue really, except from the really the brothers and the father. That's like the main source of like the dialogue throughout the movie.
I
But it
didn't
had
see the
it.
sequel either. There's a
No, I
sequel.
haven't seen that, but it does have a certain charm to it for people that like those kind of like really low budget, movies like that, like revenge kind of movies, I guess you would say. And she's as like hickish as you can get, like as backwards as you can get. She's picking up snakes and shit with her bare hands and throwing them at people. It's as
That was
much that as you could imagine. Yeah.
that was like another question that I had about it, like because those are real snakes, and the shots of the snakes in the movie where she throws that bag of snakes into the boat at the
Yeah.
beginning
Yeah.
and stuff, like that's real snakes. And I kind of wondered, like, because you don't actually see him like killing the snakes or anything, so I don't assume that they actually like killed any snakes in it or like hurt them or not. It's hard to tell. I mean,
It
it's the
is in these
70s.
movies.
So it's not like Stanley or whatever, which apparently is like like I have that Vinegar Syndrome Stanley Blu-ray. I haven't even watched it yet, but it's like apparently there's like actual snake killings in that movie. But yeah, it's a grind. It's a real grindhouse type movie, and I will say once again that I liked the soundtrack a lot. For the music, especially that Desiree song. I'm gonna have to do some research on that song, because I thought it fit really well with the vibe of the movie, kind of like the Last House on the Left music fits really well to that movie. The Desiree song in this fit the whole atmosphere,
Yeah.
and it's like very like it fits into the story of the movie, like it's about her. Um, and I don't normally like listen to me. You don't really hear music like that anymore, especially, but um, it's like that real what genre would that music?
Ballady, kind of
Like
like
it's a ballad. Like I don't want to say
um,
bluegrass. Like it's not bluegrass, is it? It's like that real southern, like
slow. uh, It is kind of
Johnny
slow
Cash type
bluegrass.
lyrics. Like yeah,
Yeah,
like I don't know, but it's a great song, and I was kind of caught off guard by how much I enjoyed the song in that movie. Um,
but we didn't really mention this, but the lady that plays Desiree is actually actress, or used to be actress, Claudia Jennings, who was a Playmate of the Year. That was her only like
that's
claim to
true.
fame, I think, at that time.
And
And
yeah, they don't really capitalize too much on
no,
her looks in the movie. I mean, which is kind of surprising because she is. I mean, she's very attractive in the movie. She's got that like frizzy red hair and shit.
yeah,
But
it's an interesting, unique look for sure. Yeah,
yeah, she doesn't she doesn't really fit into the whole like you're like what's that lady doing in the bayou like she's wearing this.
everybody else in the cast, yes, they actually fit, and then you got her that's like completely out of
She's
place. Like,
she's almost like that supermodel kind of
uh-huh.
look to her, and I mean they have her dressed up in the outfit of like her scantily like clad like short shorts and like the shirt with like the open shirt and everything on there. I mean, I was kind of expecting it to be a little bit more of a sexploitation kind of thing, which it sort of is, but it isn't. I mean, I guess you kind of get into that with the whole like Last House type vibe that it has, and I Spit on Your Grave, but it's not like sexploitation. I wouldn't necessarily call it that.
No, I mean, there's more of that with the sister than there is with her. Like
Yeah,
they,
yeah. Nothing
yeah,
really happens to her, like
yeah.
Desiree, as far as I remember. But I mean,
No, I mean, she's always like out riding those fucking, on her boats, and so she's
yeah,
barely like in the thing, to be honest. But when
that's what
she
I was
is, she's usually doing that. Yeah.
That's what I was saying earlier, yeah, and that's another weird kinda connection it has to I Spit on Your Grave because of the whole speedboat thing and, like, at the end of I Spit on Your Grave, when she's on the boat and everything, it was
Yeah.
kinda reminded me of that. But I do recommend Gator Bait, man, I liked it.
I'd like to
I
see it cleaned up. I bet it would be an entirely different movie if somebody would actually like take it and do the vinegar syndrome treatment to it or something. You could
Yeah,
actually kind of see what was going on more so.
absolutely. I would definitely purchase it, definitely.
So let's see. In terms of comments, yeah. So Joe Bob played Gatorbait about a year ago on the last drive-in. Yeah, I remember watching that episode and then I couldn't find it again on Shutter. So I don't know if they took it off
Hmm.
or I don't know.
Dude, I haven't seen any Joe Bob stuff, like, I've never watched a movie with, like,
Really?
Bob commentary or whatever, like, I
I
don't
mean,
have Shutter.
it's kind of gotten worse here lately, but like,
I'd like to see some of the classic ones, like the
yeah,
old ones.
yeah. I mean, that's more the kind of stuff that I would recommend too. I do remember the Adventures of Bayou Billy on Nintendo. I had that game and actually played that game back when it came out. Manic Exorcism. Um, it's a catastrophe of rape.
It is, yeah.
It
That's all they
is.
do. They cause a
That's pretty
catastrophe of
much it.
rape. That's what it is.
And then Beverly Sebastian is the one that is also directed October Blood. I would love to research more about that family and like how they came about doing those two movies during that time period. I'll bet there's some stuff about that in the Joe Bob thing, but I can't remember it now. That is something he talks about a lot, like is kind of the backstories behind how those movies get made.
Hmm.
Let's
Hold the
see.
fort real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay. The little Mute Boy's performance was Oscar worthy. I agree with that. It was great. I've never seen Gatorbait 2. I did know that it exists, but I've just never seen it. I would love to see this too, Scratch. So Joe Bob, I think he still does this show, the live show of how Redneck saved Hollywood. And I'm guessing it's about drive-ins, like, and how around a certain time period, like it was mostly people from the South that were going to those and kind of saved Hollywood's ass around that time. but I've never seen that show and would love to see it. Isn't the song from Last House on the Left used in Cabin Fever? It's used in like that. There's the song that's used in Hateful Eight too, from Last House on the Left. The Now You're on Your Own, Now You're All Alone, whichever title that is in that too. Yeah, so we were just talking about this. TerraVision announced that they were going to do a new version of this, and we haven't heard anything else about it since then. And the same thing with Rocktober Blood. They announced that around the same time period, and I haven't heard anything about that either. Except for the fact that you have to buy more of their stuff, and then they can do some more stuff. If you buy the stuff they've got out now, then they can make more stuff, apparently. Yeah, Mike. The version that I saw was on AMC Shutter, and it was pretty bad. Like the quality was pretty bad on that. So, I mean, usually that quality on those kind of streaming services is not that bad, but I don't think there's a good element of this that exists really.
No, honestly, the one I watched, and again, it was on like a totally not legal way that I watched it, but none of the ones I could see were very good quality at all. And to your point, it would be really cool to see this cleaned up, like 4K treatment or a 2K even, like just like a.
Oh yeah, it would sell out. I'd say it would sell out within a couple of months if they did it at like Vinegar Syndrome or something. It has at least a reputation, that it could go off of if somebody picked it up and did that. Don't think TerraVision. So the last movie is one that I think that both you and I were really surprised. I'm surprised that anything like this was ever made. I'm also surprised that that there was a point in time where you could make films and people could do the kind of stuff that's in this film and talk the kind of way that they did in this film. Yeah. Because you will never in a million years hear any of the kind of dialogue in this that you do in this movie now. Like it will never happen now. And that is the 1974, I guess it's an action adventure cult Hixsploitation film called Big Bad Mama with Angie Dickinson. Angie Dickinson was policewoman in the 70s for people that might remember that show. And I'm trying to think of what else she was in. I mean, she was fairly big there for a while and was widely considered to be one of the most attractive actresses working for a time period. And then she just kind of fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah, I was going to look up actually and see if there is like a list of anything that I would remember seeing her in. Dress to Kill.
Oh yeah, she's the woman that gets killed. Yeah, in the elevator.
Okay, that makes sense. Now that I saw, and I didn't know that before. But okay, well, that's probably the one that I was thinking of. Because this is kind of far down the line for films that she would be known for. Because a lot of them, you got Rio Bravo, Point Blank,
John Wayne movie, which is great. Yeah,
Ocean's 11. I don't know. Pay It Forward, Sabrina, The
Teenage
Chase.
Witch. Oh, sorry. It's probably not.
No. So something called Death Hunt with I've never seen Death Hunt, but it has Charles Bronson in it.
I've never seen it either, but
yeah. 1981. But yeah, so this is kind of far down the line for movies for her apparently, but there were multiple moments during this that I couldn't help but burst out into laughter.
Same. And just kind of like disbelief about what was going on in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is definitely the most lighthearted of any of the ones in this list. It's much more tongue in cheek. It's basically a sexploitation kind of comedy exploitation. Yeah. And I just was reminded, just because of like the dialogue and stuff, of something like Blazing Saddles almost in a way. It's not quite that comedic, but it's that same
It,
realm of like, how did they get away with this?
yeah, it's that unpolitically correct. I will say that. Like, so the basic plot of the movie is Angie Dickinson has these two daughters, and they're poor as hell, and they need money, so they're constantly doing things like running moonshine and liquor and stuff like that to try to make money. And then finally it gets to the point where they just go on a crime spree, and they meet up with Tom Skerritt and eventually meet up with William Shatner of all people. Like towards the end of the movie, I was just like, "What the hell?" That's the weirdest casting. Like, but I guess back then maybe it made sense, but it's just so odd to see him in a role like this. But anyway, what makes this movie so crazy and so like exploitative is that there's so much, like the daughters are supposed to be underage, right? That's the impression that I got.
I think so. I'm not
And
100% sure, but
and they're constantly like talking about and just graphically talking about like, well, I've not lost mine yet, and then like, well, I've lost mine, and yada yada yada, and they're talking to all these dudes.
well, they're
And
also
like
constantly naked.
they're constantly naked, and they're constantly like, for instance, there's a scene where like one of them, like while Angie Dickinson is like robbing this other place, she goes into this dude's house, and they just start making and
Yeah.
like
You're
he's
just
just
like,
like,
because I got the vibe that girl was like 15 or something, like maybe the
yeah,
girl.
I think that's what they're trying to imply. Like, I'm not sure if they ever say, but I'm pretty sure like it's either implied or maybe even directly stated at some point that they're not like adults. That's
Well,
the impression I get.
yeah. So like to kind of set it up, like this movie takes place what, in the 30s?
I believe so.
I
Yeah.
think it's in the 30s because they got like Model T cars and stuff like that.
32. Yeah. Just looking at
Yeah.
it.
So and another thing about it with so it's the mother and the two young girls who you assume are the one girl. I don't know what's going on with the one girl, but she's like holding a baby doll like the whole movie. She's got
Uh-huh.
that little baby doll, so that's another factor that kind of makes you think this girl is not of age physically and mentally. So, and then but so the one girl that she's going to get married, the girl that's holding the baby doll. And you're like, I'm thinking like, how old is this girl? Like, I know it's the 30s, but like, she's getting married. Like,
I
you're
guess
not
that was
real sure.
probably not that odd back then.
Yeah, and then one of the first things that like really catches you off guard is like the fact that at the wedding, Angie Dickinson, if anybody has anything to object, say it now or forever hold your peace. She kind of comes in and is like, no, I don't want my daughter to be married to this person, this guy, whatever. And then they get in this big fight in the church. And then there's a scene where the girl is like getting pulled away, and it just like blatantly like makes a point to like zoom in to show that her dress gets ripped to the side and shows her tits. And you're like, what? Like, it was so direct, and I was like, isn't this girl supposed to be like 15, 16 years old? Like,
well, the problem with it is like, not only do they like have all this dialogue and all these makeout scenes, there's actually a point in the movie where one of the daughters gets romantically involved with Tom Skerritt, who then gets her pregnant. I don't know if you remember this or not. And then Angie Dickinson like starts to like have an affair with him.
yeah.
So like this part, I was like, what the fuck? Like, they will never in a million years do anything like this today. But Roger Corman apparently gave no shits because like, so the daughter is pregnant by Tom Skerritt, who's like this heist guy, this robber.
Yeah, they kind of team up with him to do crime. Yeah.
And the mother knows this and is like, oh well, like we're gonna, you're gonna have to stay around. That's what she says to him. She's like, I don't want my daughter to be with somebody that leaves, so you got to hang around. But in the meantime, I'm gonna be having an affair with you. I'm like, okay, so that's the kind of movie that this is, like all the way through. But what the interesting part about this to me is that, like, I know the kind of stuff that it's depicting, is of a completely different era, like you said, the 30s. But I think it's pretty accurate in the way that like teenagers and shit talk about sex and stuff like that. Like most movies, when you have teenagers in them, like they don't like it's not realistic in the way that they talk or talk to each other or think about, the way that the dialogue is portrayed. This is pretty like on the nose.
Yeah, they're like
that time period.
The two young sisters are like talking about stuff like that, and they're like, it's really realistic what you would expect, like two young teenage girls, how they would talk about stuff like that, like kind of like a shy, kind of like giggly kind of thing, but they're doing all this extremely wrong, like they shouldn't be doing it because obviously they're super underage, and like there's they're just constantly like seducing these older guys that they're trying.
And it like shows all of it. You get the feeling that like they're just trying to, like, maybe the point was they're trying to be like their mother, like throughout the whole thing, because they look up to her, and then like she's constantly getting them out of trouble. So when they get caught, like, she bribes the cop, like when they get caught selling the whiskey, she bribes the cop off and all that. You remember that scene, right? Like,
that's one of the scenes in the movie that I just burst out laughing. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Like everything about that scene is like how they would never, ever, ever see this in a movie nowadays. Like the cop sitting there, leaned back in his chair, eating like a jelly donut. And it's like dripping all over him, all over his uniform. He's like the slob guy.
Oh, God.
And the mother is trying to like get her young daughter out of, because this happens after the young daughter is making out with that dude that they're trying to sell bootleg whiskey to.
Right.
And they get caught. They end up getting caught, brought into they're in like the sheriff's office or whatever. And the mother is trying to like bribe them out of prosecuting or putting her daughter in jail or whatever, and she I don't even know if we can say it.
No, I mean there's so many lines of dialogue that I couldn't say on here,
but she's like, well, my daughter like she would never do anything like this. Like there's no way my daughter had anything to do with bootlegging this whiskey. And the reason why the excuse that she gives to the sheriff as to why her daughter wouldn't do this is something that we can't say on YouTube, I guess. But it's something it's burst into laughter. Like, what the hell?
It's just funny. The only reason it's funny is because like I couldn't believe that a movie exists where they did this kind of shit. It's kind of like when you watch Blazing Saddles now, and you're like you were saying, you're watching some of that dialogue, and you're like, I can't believe that there was a time when something like this could exist, and people like would actually just laugh at it and not be like, it's crazy.
It's hysterical though. It's like, I don't know, I think if you're watching this type of movie in the first place, you probably already have that kind of sense of humor where it's like you can see the absurdity and that makes it funny. Like I couldn't help but laugh at that point in the movie and a bunch of other points in the movie. But just the cop, the way they portray that cop just sitting there eating the jelly donut. Yeah, like I said, it's like dripping all over him, and he's like licking his fingers, and you can like.
By the time, did you notice too that by the time
they flying around,
by the time they leave, like his entire shirt's covered with like jelly. So killing.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So moving forward a little bit in the story, so all that's going on, and really the best part about this movie is the dialogue, of which I don't think we can say like any of the things that they say in this movie. Like there's very few lines of dialogue that I could directly quote on here without probably getting banned from YouTube. But let me just say that the dialogue is the best part of the movie. Like it's hilarious all the way through, and it's like they deliver it in such a nonchalant way where it's not even like considered, wrong
like
or
a punchline or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just they just say it like, and Angie Dickinson says it anyway. They meet up with Tom Skerritt, all that stuff happens. Daughter gets pregnant. They're moving along, and then they're at like a horse race, and they meet up with William Shatner's character, who is supposed to be from Kentucky. I do remember that. I'm like, and he's got some sort of accent. I don't know what the hell the accent is that he's got is, but like he's got some sort of accent on. And they meet up with him, and then Angie Dickinson kind of like falls for him, and him and Tom Skerritt. So he becomes a part of the group that are doing all these they're doing all these petty crimes and stuff, robberies, you know, all this mostly on wealthy families. So, you know, as cute as this is, they kidnap somebody. Like, that's kind of the end of the movie.
Yeah,
they
that's their
finally get to
big
the point
heist.
where they're like kidnapping people and shit. And I'm just like, number one, like once they meet William Shatner, it gets even funnier because he's an awful actor, man. He's doing the Star Trek thing in this movie too, where he's doing the overacting and the pausing and all that. It's like stereotypical Shatner, but he's got like a weird Southern accent that I can't quite figure out like what he's going for.
Yeah.
And he's a drunk who like eventually will get him like into a lot of trouble. But you know, during the parts, like there's a sex scene that is quite possibly the most awkward sex scene that I have ever seen in a movie, with just Shatner and Angie Dickinson, and they're both completely nude. I never ever in a million years thought I would see a movie with like William Shatner completely nude.
Yeah.
Where you can tell he is, but you don't see anything, thank God, or I don't think I would have been able to like survive that.
Yeah.
But like he's just basically like she's
Rolling
pressed
around
up against like the side of a bed, like one of those metal bed things, you know, and he's just kind of like just pushing up against her. It's causing her to like hit the bed. And I was just dying laughing because it's so awkward. And it's depressingly awkward, really. And here's what I will say though about that scene as well. Angie Dickinson, I don't know how old she was in this movie. I don't care. Like, she's got to be one of the hottest women that were around that time period. Like,
Yeah.
has to be. Like,
Yeah,
it
she's
was
great.
insane.
Looks great in this movie too. Yeah, and honestly, I think she's nude the least out of the other.
That's true.
The two young girls, which obviously in real life, I'm sure they were above 18. You know, like that. I hope. I mean, it would have to be, I would assume. But
I don't think they were playing that, but I hope they were actually. Yeah,
in the movie
they were. Yeah,
in the movie, I think they were probably portrayed as like 16, 17, maybe 18 years old at the most. But you know, that she's screwing Shatner, and like the other daughter goes into the other room and is like screwing this other guy, and like it's a lot of like topless nudity in this movie, and stuff, and they just really capitalize on it. I think it's kind of technically considered a sexploitation as well, because there is a lot of sex and nudity,
more so than any of these other movies by far.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those. It's like a sexploitation kind of comedy in a way.
It's a wild movie though, man. Because like halfway in the middle of it, it takes like a sharp turn from being like a goofy kind of sex romp comedy into like a heist film / like, you know, serious kidnapping kind of film. And they end up kidnapping this girl who's like from a wealthy family, and Tom Skerritt's supposed to watch her, but like he can't keep it in his pants, so he tries to make out with her and she gets away. That's another thing too. Tom Skerritt's just humping anything that will move in this movie too. And so she gets away, she runs out, and then I guess the police end up finding William Shatner. They capture him, and it kind of turns into Bonnie and Clyde at this point, because like he gives them up and tells the police where the rest of the gang is and where Angie Dickinson and the girls are and everything. And they come in and there's a big shootout, which is actually a pretty killer shootout, really.
It is, yeah. It's a pretty good it's not what you were expecting based on how the rest of the movie was going. It's kind of an
Yeah,
effective, well done, like shootout sequence, for sure.
yeah. I mean, like I was surprised because it is Roger Corman, not known for his budgets or like attention to detail or anything like that. But once you get to the end with there's a lot of Tommy guns and a lot of like violence and stuff exploding. It was really done well, I thought.
Hmm.
And then I don't give away like the whole ending or anything because the ending is really good too. Uh, did
Yeah,
not see the main ending coming at all,
yeah,
and so
yeah. I
uh,
agree. Definitely agree with that.
will not give that part away.
Yeah.
But I will say that hadn't seen this movie in probably 30 some years. Um, if you think about that, I haven't seen this
That's
movie since
crazy.
before you were born. I'm sure of it, man. Yeah, but it is great. It's
It's
just
fun,
like
really fun.
when you think about exploitation comedies, like this is like what comes to my mind. Like this should be the template for that in a way, really. You got like horribly inappropriate jokes, uh
Tons of
great
nudity.
dialogue, tons of nudity. Like this should be the kind of trademark for this too, I think. Um Great film
If you
for
like
that.
Blazing Saddles, if you like sex comedies, if you have a really good sense of humor where you're not going to be offended like by
Yeah, this is not a
anything like,
movie
yeah,
for
this is not
anybody
a
easily offended. No.
woke movie or whatever you want to call it for sure.
No.
Um, the one girl, the blonde-haired daughter, is actually one of the stars of the exploitation movie, The Candy Snatchers,
Oh yeah, that was like
which
the version of Last House on the Left, wasn't it? Like a
kind of a yeah.
Italian, was it Italian? Or was it just another version of that movie?
No, I don't remember if that was an Italian movie or not. I don't think it was. Like I have it. That's another one that like I have the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray and I have not watched it yet. I hate to say it. There's quite a few titles that I have that I haven't watched. Like sure a lot of us do, but I know that the Candy Snatchers is kind of underrated, but also has a cult following to it as far as like those exploitation, um, kind of grape uh, revenge type movies. I know Quentin Tarantino, that's one of his favorite exploitation films. It's been noted in the past.
I've I've never seen the movie. I've only ever heard of it like through other people talking about it. Um,
I have the Blu-ray, yeah, from Vinegar Syndrome, and I don't know if it's completely sold out at this point because it's one of their really early titles that they did. Um, and it had a slipcover and everything at the beginning. But I'm sure by now it's probably,
Probably sold out. Yeah.
which I'd like to see if it is. Oh no, you can still get the standard edition. There's 672 copies. So, um, yeah, that's one I need to watch. But yeah, that girl didn't do a lot of movies, man. It's according to what I'm seeing, she did maybe 2 or 3 movies, and 2 of them were Big Bad Mama and Candy Snatchers. The
I
blonde
mean,
daughter.
if you're gonna do two movies, I guess that
Hell of a
seems like
hell of a
yeah.
career.
Um, I just what and when I was talking about this movie, and I was thinking about it. There was a time period in the early '80s, '70s, things like that, where they actually had teenage like sex comedies where people talked about like that kind like think about Porky's and those kind of movies and stuff like that in the '80s, and probably all the way up to the '90s when they did American Pie. But after that, like after like certain period of time, like those movies became, I guess they just weren't woke enough or whatever they weren't, they don't fit with today's society. I don't think you'll ever see movies really like that again, like where teenagers were actually talking about shit that was like really going on with teenagers. Like I
There's
just don't
some
see that.
I mean, yeah, you don't see it in like really mainstream like culture. I mean, there are movies that do kind of toe the line as far as like, but what's considered more taboo, if you even want to call it that nowadays, is not really, it doesn't feel at all taboo anymore. When they try to be taboo, it's still kind of in a safe mainstream kind of way that they shape it. But in these 70s movies, especially, like, it was just like, when you compare it to what we have today, it's a night and day difference with like how they talk and what they're talking about. And it's so matter of fact and like just in your face, no shits given type
Mhm.
of dialogue. And I like that. Like that. I like that. I like movies like that because it's so much more realistic, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking, is like, you could actually see people, like, talking like this.
Yeah.
Like, especially, in that time period that the film was made. Not the 30s per se, but I'm talking about the 70s.
Hmm.
It just seemed like that would be naturally the way that people would talk about shit like that, rather
Everything.
than,
Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, there's a ton of comments on this movie too. So let's see. A lot of people are talking about Death Hunt because we mentioned that, like, as a Bronson film.
Okay. Yeah. I never
And
saw it.
Death Hunt, she was only in one scene. Okay, well,
It'll be put. I'll have to put it on my list because I never heard of it.
Mayor says, as a kid in the 70s, going to the drive-in, seeing Big Bad Mama and Gator Bait is probably why exploitation and grindhouse cinema. Why I love exploitation and grindhouse cinema so much.
That's, yeah. That would be insane. That like just seeing movies
Yeah,
like
that would be
that
great.
just on the big screen, like, it's insane. We'll never see it again. I don't think anything like
No,
that.
you'll never ever see anything like that again. The way things are going, I don't know.
No. So this Big Bad Mama actually has a Blu-ray release from Shout Factory,
Yeah,
and it's a double feature with Big Bad Mama 2, which I
yeah.
have not seen, but from what I had read, Big Bad Mama 2 is essentially just the same movie as the first one with a slightly different, like, it's the same type of story. Like,
Uh-huh.
it doesn't seem like a lot of people are real big fans of it. Just for the fact that, like, it's, if you, the first one's enough, more than enough. The second one isn't really going to bring anything new into the fold. Um, I thought about getting that Blu-ray, the double feature, but man, I don't know. Do you have it or not? Because honestly, it's not cheap,
Mm.
man. It's like a $35 Blu-ray still for that. Like,
No,
everywhere I
I
look,
don't own it.
it's on. You can get it on Shout Factory's website, but like, it's still like a full price, like $35 Blu-ray, and then you add shipping on it, and I'm like, I don't know if the second movie's not that great. I don't think I want to spend that much on that double feature. Like, if they
I'm
ever
not
do a
sure.
sale, maybe.
I'm not sure I've ever seen the second movie, but like, it came on like after I was watching the first Big Bad Mom on the incredibly legitimate streaming site that I was using,
Yeah,
and um, from the look of it, it's what you would call, like, maybe like, a creative reset. Is that what they're calling it nowadays? Where it's basically just like, um, what I could tell is like somebody's coming to take her house, and there's a whole new, like, family and everything that's with her, and she's like fighting them off and shit. And so it seems like it just completely ignores everything that happened in the first movie and just kind
yeah,
of restarts, like,
obviously, because like we said
yeah, yeah.
with the ending of that one, but with the first one, but I don't know. I wouldn't be against watching the second one, but I'm not prepared to spend 30 to almost $40 on a double feature of it. Um,
No,
maybe
me either.
15 or 20, maybe, but
Yeah. I feel like that movie is, if all those Corman movies should be cheap as hell, man, considering like the production qualities and everything. I didn't know she was still alive, but apparently she's 92 years old now and she's still alive.
wow,
That's insane.
good for her.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, speaking of the Roger Corman stuff, real quick, I did. I placed another order, of course, for some more Blu-rays, and I picked up a Roger Corman triple feature, and it is of the Caged Women set. I don't know if you have that,
Oh,
but it
I
has
do
the
have
original.
that. I have
Do
the
you?
DVD of that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I picked up the Blu-ray, and I'm real excited for that. I mainly bought it for the Big Dollhouse.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know if in the future you're planning on doing women in prison movies, because I think on the poll, women in prison was kind of toe and
It
toe
was
with
second.
Hixsploitation. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
it
know if
was
you're doing
second.
another poll or not, but I kind of thought I have out of that set, that's the only movie that I have seen is The Big Dollhouse. The other one is and I love the titles to these movies. The Big Bird Cage.
Big Bird.
Yeah. And then the other one is Women in Cages. And so I hadn't seen those two, but Big Dollhouse is fantastic. I really like that movie. So if you're doing a women in prison stream, that would
Oh,
definitely be one to include.
that one's definitely coming, like in the
All
near
right,
future. I don't know
that'd be
when, but
cool.
yeah.
But I did pick that up. It's not here yet, but I do look forward to seeing those on Blu-ray. And those
What are you
Roger
doing,
Corman
Tony?
sets are something that you don't really see anymore. Like they
No,
don't
you don't.
do those.
They did him like for a long time there, though. They had like almost every movie it seemed like that he did
Yeah,
in a time period.
yeah.
Anyone remember a movie called Demon Warp about Bigfoot? I do not remember that.
No, I know Demon Wind. It's a demon wind.
And the mayor says, "Damn it! Now I've got to give Shout Factory my money."
Yeah, just wait on a sale. Someone else said on there that it's limited to 1,500, the Big Bad Mama thing, which it's probably been years since that's come out anyway, and it didn't look like it was in low stock or anything on there. So if anything, I'm just gonna wait until it goes on sale at some point um, for that double feature.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. Let's see. Rathammer says, "Do you plan to do Japanese J horror video for exploitation? Ichi the Killer Cure versus shit." It's funny that you mentioned because I just pulled this out the other day. It's not going to be my bird, I promise. Yeah.
Nice.
So I was just this is the DVD. It's the only version of this that I own. I'm sure it's out on Blu-ray, if not 4K by now. But yeah, that is actually something that
I
I would
haven't seen
consider
that.
doing. Oh, it's
Not
great.
seen that. Yeah, I've seen Itchy the
It's
Killer. Have
yeah.
that DVD. That's a weird
Um,
movie, man.
it is a very weird movie.
Yeah. The
And they
effects
come out
did not age well in Itchy the Killer. It's like very Windows 95 computer effects on like the special effects in that movie that I can remember. Because I just watched it like less than a year ago.
we're not allowed to say that on here, Mayor. We can't talk about that. That didn't happen.
We're banned from talking about that.
Yeah. It'll get us in trouble.
Speaking of, let me show you something.
Uh-oh. Oh God. It
It's
better
not-
not be a pit. It
it's
better
not
not be
gonna-
that.
It's not going to be my bird, I promise.
All right. He's gonna come back with like a signed jug.
I don't know why just that comment got me thinking about various various hollow containers, if you will.
That's a great segue into this.
I picked up the Slimer
Holy
popcorn
shit.
bucket
Yeah.
from Cinemark, and Slimer's got a dumper on him. I don't know if you can see it.
He
But
packed
they
enough
actually
cake for the whole class. Yeah.
They actually put it on there, but I don't know why I needed this. I probably did.
I don't know either, but it
But
looks awesome.
I'll take it out of the bag eventually. I'm actually thinking about getting some fake popcorn, or if I can figure out how to like make some kind of fake popcorn and like filling it up and having it
Yeah.
on display. But it is kind of cool.
It is cool.
I mean,
I didn't even know they were doing those, but I should have guessed because they do those like all the time now. Since the Scream one.
yeah, that was the Scream thing was what really shot that over the edge with like all these promotional things. But I figured with like, especially with like Trick or Treat Studios is coming out with that whole line of Ghostbuster stuff this year, it's going to be insane. I mean, with everything that they're coming out with, really. That's a whole other subject, though. I mean, their lineup for this year is going to be insane. I mean, for
Yeah.
people that collect stuff, the Phantasm stuff, the Ghostbuster stuff, the Lost Boys, I feel like
I know a
this
couple
is like
people that
their
are gonna be
biggest year
like
in a long time.
mortgaging their house here soon.
Yeah.
I know a couple, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ragnar says too, the Shout Select stuff never goes on sale. It went on sale one time that I can remember. The Shout Select stuff did, and I bought like 15 titles when it went on, because like they never have sales. That's true, but one time they had like a decent sale where they had like a lot of that stuff that was on their site. Like a lot of the Blu-rays were on sale, and it was probably about a year ago or so. And I bought like everything in the world from there, because the Shout Select stuff I think is actually a lot better than the damn Screen Factory stuff that they put out. To me, like that's actually stuff that I like enjoy watching more so.
I guess in that case, it would be, the best bet to get something like that on sale would be from some kind of secondary site, which
Probably.
I'm checking deep discount right now, and it looks like they only have the DVD, which is $15. I mean, I guess if I really wanted it, I could go for the DVD. My collector brain tells me you want the Blu-ray, but I mean, is it really going to be that big of a difference on Blu-ray? I don't know. Probably not.
Probably not from Corman, though. I haven't watched any Leprechaun movies today. I'm just not even giving a shit about St. Patrick's Day. I apologize, but I have not.
I don't like the Leprechaun movies.
PT wants to know what Phantasm stuff you're talking about, Matt.
Oh, well, do you know what I'm talking about, though, Uncle Bill?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think I do.
so honestly, this year for Trick or Treat Studios is going to be this. Like I said, this is going to be their biggest year in a long time. Because I was thinking about this the other day. Like they have not had a big year of like really strong collectible items since they got the Child's Play stuff a couple years ago with that original Good Guy doll that they did. I feel like that was like their big boom, was the Chucky stuff. That's when I kind of really caught on to them. But if you look at Trick or Treat Studios catalog that they have, I think it's on their website, or if you just Google it, you'll find it. They released a catalog of all the stuff that they're going to be releasing this year and a lot of the properties, because they just lost a bunch of their licenses expired for their license expired for the Child's Play stuff, for a lot of the Halloween stuff. Which, speaking of, I don't know how that's going to work, because they bought Dawn Post Studios. Like Trick or Treat Studios now owns, is that correct? Like they own like Dawn Post now?
From what I understand, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, they lost the license for the Halloween 3 stuff, but yet they're re-releasing it under like the Tots / Dawn Post thing for Halloween 3 at least. But they have quite a few new titles that they've acquired their licenses for. And one of them is Phantasm. So what they're, and there's pictures in the catalog, but I feel like even that catalog, it doesn't have everything that they're going to do. Because for the Ghostbusters, they had pictures in the catalog for some of the masks that they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But then I saw a video where they were at like a convention or something, and they were showing off like props or like, the first run of stuff that they were working on. And there's shit in that video that wasn't in the catalog. So they got like a Slimer that's, you can like mount it on the wall and it lights up, and it has separate hands that you can mount next to it. And it looks like Slimer's coming through the wall and it lights up and shit. They got the demon dog thing. But Phantasm, they have like the tall man mask, and they have 2 masks that are of those hooded.
Yeah, and the sphere, yeah.
The sphere is the big thing, obviously, the ball.
Yeah.
I will 100% be getting that. I don't own a Phantasm sphere.
I think that'd be the one to get, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm assuming it's probably going to be pretty affordable, because if you look online now, there are some people out there who do make Phantasm spheres. They're real expensive. There's one that's a Phantasm 2 sphere. Speaking of, Sean Clark just did a video on all the Phantasm spheres. I don't know if you watched that.
I didn't see that, huh?
Yeah. He does a video on his collection of spheres that he owns.
Jesus,
and there's
imagine.
Oh, it's crazy. But there's one, Phantasm 2, which you can actually purchase it, but I think it's like $200 or $300. It's very nice, and it has like a detachable. It has that like drill head, but then it has a detachable where you can put on the one that has kind of like that ninja star looking thing on the end of it.
Oh yeah.
Um, so that's out, but I feel like the Tots, the Trick or Treat Studios one, will probably be much more affordable. I'm thinking maybe around
I'm looking at this stuff right now in this
50.
calendar. It's insane how much shit they have in here.
It's crazy. This year, like I said, it's going to be their biggest year in a long time. Because for a while, it was just samey same every year. It was just like everything. It was it's
You've
more.
got they've got the fucking dog mask from The Shining. They're selling that mask, from that scene that
Yeah,
everybody always,
yeah,
yeah.
yep. And then they
Some
got
of
the
this stuff
Exorcist
though,
mask on there, the Reagan
yeah, some of this
Exorcist
stuff I'll
mask.
definitely be getting though, because some of it's amazing. They've got the Hellraiser Inferno lament box on there. They've got Toxic Avenger stuff. They've not the Toxic Crusader stuff. They've actually got Toxic Avenger stuff too. But then they've also got like a weird kind of. And by the way, can people please quit making shit about the Gremlins? Like, there's so much fucking Gremlin stuff out. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know who was buying all this shit, but good lord, man! Like,
I could
how much
see
shit
owning
can
maybe
you
like
buy?
like a Gizmo, like maybe that would be cool. But all that other stuff, I'm not that big of a fan of Gremlins. Like, I don't know, it just gets too expensive. I don't even think they had a picture of the Phantasm Sphere though, did they? Because
They did, yeah. It's
oh,
actually
did
on
they?
there.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay. I'll have to check it out again because it's been a while
And
since
then
I
they've
looked
got
at.
essentially like every Leatherface mask that you could ever want to buy, and every Michael Myers mask too.
It's
And
gonna be
then
Garrett's gonna go broke on those
yeah, he's
Lost
screwed.
Boys. I mean that he's going to be, he's getting all three of those however many masks they're doing for the Lost Boys.
It's weird, man. These masks are not that expensive, relatively speaking. So, like the Reagan mask is like $40. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre mask are like $60. I mean, for
Okay.
what they are, they're not
So
that expensive.
for the Reagan mask, I did see that it's not an actual full over the head mask. It's like a front face mask, and then it has like a strap and then a wig attached to it. So it would look really cool like on a display, but it is not like a full over the head type like thing, which is fine. I mean, the front of it looks cool, at least from the production images that they have on
Yeah.
there. But yeah, big Ghostbusters collection, Lost Boys, Phantasm. I'm like, Phantasm?
Yep. That
Like
tall man mask is actually pretty decent, and so are the little, whatever you call little
demon
druid
druid
guys.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I probably won't get those because I just want the sphere. That's all I care about. Like the masks are cool, but
Did you
I,
see the pig mask from Motel Hell? Like, I'm sitting here thinking, like, I'm
I
gonna
didn't
buy
see that.
a fucking pig mask. I really am thinking about it, sadly.
But this
I
is gonna,
love that movie, and I
yeah,
love that mask especially.
it's gonna be a crazy year for people that are collectors because it's crazy though because some of their shit ends up in like Spirit Halloween and stuff too. So because a
Yep,
lot of their Halloween stuff was in
yep.
Spirit Halloween last couple years. But
And
like
I
I
say,
said,
it looks like they got some killer clown stuff that'll probably be in Spirit Halloween too.
yeah, oh yeah, definitely. That's like huge. But the Phantasm Sphere and maybe one or two of the Ghostbusters things I'll probably be picking up. But like I said, since the Child's Play stuff is gone, that was like their big thing. I feel like that's what was keeping them afloat for a while was that
Yep.
Child's Play stuff.
Well, they certainly got enough stuff now, and enough stuff that people would actually be interested in too.
And I was so
They've got
shocked.
the replica chainsaw from Texas Chainsaw too, which is killer.
Yeah, I forgot about that. It makes noise and everything. Um, it's just too much stuff. For me, like I don't collect all that
It's
kind of shit.
it's endless, man. Like, you
Yeah.
could spend every dollar you had. Like, they release so much shit. If it's not physical media or vinyl or masks or fucking whatever, like
I
figures, it's like it's just constant.
It is a sickness. It's a sickness. Like I was talking to Garrett yesterday, actually. I just bought this new shelf, and I got a hell of a deal on a new shelf, and I set it up and everything, and I'm looking at it, and like my brain just automatically goes to, what can I fill up this shelf with?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got because it's like so bare, and I'm like, and I've already spent money on like 2 or 3 things that I'm gonna have on display. One of them being the Slimer bucket, which this was only
Yeah.
$20, so I can't complain about that. But
Yeah.
like I got one other thing that I have in hand right now that I don't I don't know if I'm going to do video on it or not, but it's a Trick or Treat Studios thing that's now out of print or out of production. Um, that was not cheap, but that's going on the shelf. Um, but I can't get into collecting all these masks and
Well,
figures and all that.
Ragnar's got a good point. Masks are hard to display and they're hard to keep because they
Mhm.
deteriorate easy. That's true. Like, and they're very like, if you don't have them in like a certain temperature and humidity and shit, like that stuff will get fucked up quickly too. Like, I mean, very quick. So, yeah, it's not something that I recommend that anybody gets into. Like, if you don't have just a ton of money you want to waste. Yeah, my dick demon. Have you seen the dick demon lately?
No, I don't know if you've pulled him out lately.
Oh God, this is what
You've
we're dealing with at this point.
unsheath the dick demon.
Right? This is the so the base is straight. And that's like the level of
I feel like he's at
lean.
this. I feel like he's been at the same lean for a while now, though. Like he hasn't progressed.
I don't know if he's ever gonna he's gonna come off there at some point. He's got to, right? I mean,
Now you're bringing that to Horror Hound, right? You got to be bringing it to Horror Hound with you.
it would be awesome if I just took this and like set it on their table and was like, give me money back,
Dude,
or
give me a trade.
Yeah, because this is ridiculous.
I feel like he wouldn't survive the trip to Horror Hound and back.
No,
though.
I don't think so. But anyway,
I can't believe that Horror Hound's this weekend already, though. Coming up.
Yeah, we're getting ready for it here. Trying to get money and everything together because everything's so damn expensive that it's going to be crazy. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't know where we're staying, but we'll probably be murdered because I know that I'm positive that CK probably didn't look into the location wherever this Airbnb is.
I don't know, man. I still got to get a room for myself too. Still, I better get on that. That I'm probably not staying at an Airbnb though.
Yeah, it'd probably have like a barbarian kind of situation in the basement.
Yeah.
But it's going to be fun, and I've already determined I'm not getting anybody's autograph because there's nobody there that I give a shit about getting at all, really.
After Mike Flanagan canceled, that about killed it for me. Him and his wife canceling, I told you guys know that like ruined my day. I was so mad.
Me too. That was actually the main guy I wanted to meet. Like, of anybody there,
him and his wife Kate, I was prepared fully to get a signature from both of them. Now, if I get any signatures at all, it's going to be maybe Brian Usna. I don't know if you have a signature from him or not. Probably,
I do.
Probably do. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool just to have, just because like society, something like that. But
yeah,
other than that, Ken Foray is at like every convention under the sun anymore. So I can get him at any time. Maybe I'll get him, but I'm thinking maybe this will be just a con just to focus on the vendor floor.
Well, here's what I'm focusing on. Like, it's going to be the physical media people because every studio is there. I mean, quite literally every studio we buy stuff from is there.
Yeah.
So
there's going to have to be a haul video after the fact.
Yeah. I'm going to hit Severn up, and it's good. That's going to be hilarious, though. Some of that shit's going to be great. Comes out of that.
I want to be there for that when you're at the table.
I just
on Saturday.
I just want to see, what they've got there and take some pictures of some things that they probably will have there. I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with giving Eli Roth $90. I don't want to give Eli Roth $1. I really don't. But I think that this is kind of a once in a lifetime thing, and it's probably going to be pretty epic.
I can't wait to see that picture.
I can't wait to take that
photo
picture.
op.
That picture is like 15 years in the making. So yeah,
It's legendary.
but I guess we're at 2 hours. We covered the films. We're not doing another ExploitNation next weekend because we're going to be at Whorehound, of course. So we're not going to be able to. I'll probably be driving back or be just getting back around the time we will be doing that. So
Yeah.
I don't know what the next one will be. I'll put another poll up. We'll see, I guess, from that. But I want to thank you, Matt, for doing the show again. I want to thank like all these people from being in here. It's been packed all night, and I really appreciate that. Appreciate the chat, everybody that's been here, even the mayor. I appreciate him.
All these were like first time viewings for me, so I was like glad that I actually got to have the time to watch all three of them this time around. But like I said before, I think we both can recommend all three of these movies like full on. Like they're all worth watching, like 100%. You know, two pretty. It's a good mixture. You got the sexploitation comedy / exploitation. You got the grindhouse style, and then you got the just straight up drama kind of / exploitation shit. Like they're all three definitely worth watching. Like it covers all the bases.
I couldn't agree more. Like if you've never seen these movies, watch them. It's the perfect introduction to that kind of style of like exploitation films, like these three. And they're all really good films, like on their own merits, I guess. Gator Bait might be the most technically flawed and probably hardest to watch because of the quality of the print, but it's still a pretty decent movie, I think.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, check them all out. And then check us out if you're going to Whorehound, because we will be there this coming weekend.
Yeah.
In Cincinnati. So, yeah.
I hope,
Matt, I know you'll be there.
I hope you guys are planning on doing some kind of video for Whorehound, like a.
Oh yeah, well,
you know,
like
something.
I know how he is, man. He videos every damn thing, so I know he's going to video like the entire parts of the convention for sure.
That'll be a hit because people love watching that kind of stuff on YouTube, like the convention videos and stuff like that. And I feel like hopefully that'll boost you guys up, on YouTube more than because you already, you need to be getting up there and some more subscribers. Because what are you at now? Like 10? Did you hit the 10,000, right?
No, we're not. We haven't hit 10,000 yet. That's actually what our next goal is, which I'm hoping we do that by the end of the year. For the love of God,
if a good Whorehound video will get you there, I think. I think it will. People love.
I don't know how. I think it'll be decent based on like what we're planning on doing, to say the least. But so thanks for everybody, and I guess until a couple of weeks from now, we will see you then. Check out DEADPIT on Patreon, of course, Into the Dead Pit on Instagram, shop.deadpit.com, and all the other shit that we got on social media sites. And until then, I am out. See y'all.
Peace. See ya.
Give us the thumbs up.
Up your butt.
Like, subscribe. And if you subscribe, here's something else you can do. Once you subscribe, you can click the bell notification, right? And it'll notify you anytime that Dead Pit puts up new shit.
Or don't. I really don't give a fuck.
I want you to. I don't care. Let's keep our community growing here on YouTube.
I don't like it. I don't want you to do nothing.
Listen, they need to do that.
No, don't you dare touch it.
Thumbs up. Subscribe. And click that bell.
There's all kinds of wonderful shirts over at shop.deadpit.com. Simply the best horror shirts. On TeePublic, there are others, but they all suck. You can get some Dead Pit Radio shirts. You can get Last South on the Left. The Hills Have Eyes. Texas Chainsaw. Oh, wait, you can't say Texas Chainsaw. All kinds of shirts, folks. You're gonna love them. Shop.deadpit.com.
Thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon. Dead Pit on Patreon.com is the only place to check out a complete archive of the old Dead Pit radio shows all the way back from 2005 on. in addition to the midweek shows, fan commentaries, exclusive podcasts, and much more. Dead Pit on patreon.com if you're interested. Tiers start at only $1.
We ain't